All right, let's try this again in a slightly new format. Hey, folks, my name is Shane, and this is the Scout No Filter channel where I do this weekly debrief. It's been a little while since I've done one, but I'm still pretty new to this, so most people will never know the difference. I change things up. I used to just sit out on my back deck and film with my phone, a one take vlog style video, like I'm still doing here. No edits, no breaks, no fancy editing. Just kind of recap the week with events that caught my attention. We'll go more in that, but I'm going to do this inside now in my home office using a live stream software, StreamYard. Do a little more organized, a little more refined, and maybe we'll do it as a live stream in the future. So let's hop into this week's debrief. So, what exactly is this debrief? Like I just mentioned, it's a weekly vlog style video where I recap what has caught my attention both on the global, national, and regional slash local areas. I give you my personal assessment and how it's going to impact me and what I intend to do on a preparedness perspective with the ever changing world we live in. So what's the point of this? It helps keep me focused on the big picture. Uh, Having things a little. I used to just write this down on a piece of paper, but put it into the slide deck. Kind of helps keep me focused and organized. And I'm putting it up here on YouTube because others might find it entertaining or maybe even informative. And with all the doom and gloom overreaction content out on YouTube with everything, I thought it might be best to counter it with a little bit of common sense, at least from my perspective, anyways. Uh, so let's dive into it. Let's look at the international events. Biggest thing that caught my eye is the U.S. Ford Carrier Strike Group is headed towards the Caribbean. Right now, I believe it's near the Mediterranean, and it's been ordered to go to the Caribbean to hang out by Venezuela. So it won't be there very soon, but probably 2 to 3 weeks, you can see our newest super carrier and its supporting fleet in the Caribbean, which also currently has a bunch of Arleigh Burke class destroyers and flat tops that carry Marines and all that kind of stuff. So things are going to get a little spicy. It's looking like hopefully this is just more display of power, but eh, you never know. And that kind of surprises me. I think that this buildup would be getting much more attention in the national media and in social media over, seems to be the hot topic, remodeling the White House. Uh, there's three reasons why we're doing this. Is drugs, which was part of the campaign thing. We want to cut down the illicit drug entering the country, and they're taking out the fast boats that are part of the smuggling chain. Uh, a lot of people say, how can those little boats go from Venezuela all the way to the United States? Well, they don't. They island hop. They're just targeting the first leg of the distribution chain of the cocaine and fentanyl and all the other fun stuff that's coming in. Um, it's just we're zeroed in onto one small link of this uh, distribution network for illegal drugs. But with the carrier strike force coming in there, uh, there's others that went into more detail on this. S2 Underground has done some great stuff on this and others. So check out some of the other uh, open source type people on YouTube that cover this kind of stuff. Um, it could just be you know, display of force, like I said, or we could be doing some ground operations in Venezuela with, ground strikes from F-18s launched from the Ford Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from the Arleigh Burkes that are escorting her and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's just waving a big stick. Maybe it'll be more, but that's something to pay mind of. Two fronts for me, of course, will be uh, protests. That'll get people who are against this current administration riled up more than they always are. So keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. I'm all for exercising your rights and protesting, but this day and age, peaceful protests are few and far between. Uh, Many of them start out with all the good intentions, but it just takes a few bad apples to turn it into a shit show. So be mindful of that. Avoid where you think a protest may be because you don't want to be having your car pounded on by angry people and you might even agree with them. So that's how that works. Uh, I think I mentioned, why Venezuela. It's the drugs for sure. Dictatorship, which is aligned to a government style that the United States traditionally doesn't like. So they might want to try to help the opposition take control. The opposition that just won the Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. And let's not forget that oil. Uh, Years ago, the United States and Venezuela had a pretty good deal going on with oil. That fell apart a dictator or two ago in Venezuela. Maybe there's no denying that that's probably at least an underlying issue or reason for this, if not the main reason that's being covered up by drugs. We'll see. Wow, I talked on that longer than I thought. The trade war with China and others is heating up again a little bit. There's been some tit for tat tariffs with China again and Canada. Uh, it may just be a buildup for the planned trade talks that Trump is going to be having with his Asia tour coming up next week. Hopefully, that will simmer things down. You can't predict what Trump's going to do. He's a wild card, always has been. Some love him for that, some hate him for that. I see why both sides would. And then Canada, speaking of wild cards, was Ontario's Prime Minister or Governor Bill Ford. Was it Bill Ford? Last name's Ford, anyways. He's kind of a wild card too. He's poking the bear. Ran some commercials with Reagan talking about, or a commercial with Reagan talking about tariffs. And of course, they edited it down to make it look like Reagan was all against it. But if you watch that full speech, you'll see Reagan sees tariffs as a tool when needed. Uh, so, of course, that got Trump's panties in a wad, and he's lashing off. Here we go again. So, with both the carrier strike group and the trade dust ups here with China and Canada, United States Junior, I was going to say, uh, this could affect supply chains. If there's going to be a naval skirmish, if you will, in the Caribbean, that's going to screw up a lot of transit from South America to North America and vice versa. Obviously, things coming from China will be a big deal. So, uh, I'm still being very much more selective on purchases, focusing on saving money for things that I will need will probably get more expensive in the near future. And this keeps me more driven to buy more locally sourced necessities such as food. I pretty much exclusively buy my meats from a local butcher now. Uh, Buying produce from farmers markets, that kind of stuff. Kind of stuff that I should be doing anyways. Support the local communities, support the local economy, have some fresher, possibly higher quality food, but you know how that is. Also, with things heating up, uh, keeping an eye out for a little more civil unrest from local protests. My social awareness is going to have to be heightened, and you'll see more and more of that as I continue down these slides. Wow, I'm 10 minutes in. I'm only on the first slide. Also, the shaky Middle East peace seems to be holding. There's still some skirmishing. There's no such thing as peace in the Middle East. Right now, we have a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Uh, Fighting's been going on 4,000 plus years in that area. It ain't changing. Uh, a ceasefire is the best we can hope for, and hopefully that continues. Now, for probably the biggest thing that's got my attention is the government shutdown continues. So far, that's been zero impact on me. Well, I take that back. There's been one minor thing. I was trying to get a GMRS radio license, but the FCC website's shut down. So I guess I'll continue being a GMRS pirate for a little while longer. No big deal. But in another week or two, November 1st, it's likely that if the government shutdown continues, uh, it will impact social welfare programs, food stamps generally, SNAP, and all the other acronyms. That could be a big deal. First off, it kind of ties in with the second point there, where the recent No Kings protests that were largely uneventful. I don't think that those No Kings protests were any bigger than their first attempt, maybe a little bit, but they are pretty well organized. And if the shutdown continues into November, that's just more fuel for their fire. So again, is back to being more mindful of local protests and situation awareness. Staying under the radar in general public. I don't have bumper stickers on my vehicles. I don't wear. Uh, I used to wear, some spicy T-shirts once in a while that I thought were funny that picked on different people or different things. Uh, pro this, anti that. I don't wear those out in public anymore. I'll wear them when I'm going to be with a controlled group, but nowadays it's not worth being the little sarcastic guy that makes fun of the political environment when so many people on both sides of the political spectrum are willing to fight perfect strangers over nothing because they are offended. Um, so, with the welfare programs coming down there, I'll get more into that on the local level, but you probably know where I'm getting. One more thing I thought it really isn't a prepping thing, but it's caught some news and I thought it was worth mentioning is that Glock has stopped making Glocks. They made an announcement that they pretty much discontinued the vast majority of their line. They're continuing to make some of their single stack models, and then hinting that the V version is coming out soon, which is for the Glock guys, that'll probably be your Gen 6. Now, Glock has gets a lot of headlines because Glock is Glock. It's a name that even people who've never seen a gun before know what it is. Um, they've gotten a lot of hype ever since the first Die Hard, or no, the second Die Hard movie when the Glock 7s were introduced. The fictional gun that many anti-gunners think is a real thing. They've been sued by like California and some other very anti-gun states in the US, and for how simple their design is, and you can add the Glock switch to it. The Glock switch will make the semi-automatic into an automatic. And for those who don't know much about firearms, that seems like a evil thing, but reality is any semi-automatic firearm can be fully automatic with people who know what they're doing. This is 150 plus year old technology Uh, it's it's just the way it is. But Glock switch and that just makes the news. So a lot of people are they're connecting the dots that Glock has discontinued their product because it's too easy to convert to fully auto. Um, T-Rex Labs has a great video on that that is worth watching. I'll link that to the description below. But I don't think this is a knee-jerk reaction from Glock. I think this is more Glock marketing, simply because you cannot change a design and revamp your production line and your supply lines at a drop of a hat. Uh, that introducing a new generation of a firearm or a automobile or your cell phone uh, takes years, frankly, to develop. Um, Chevy or Ford or Toyota does not start designing the 2026 model in December of 2025. The 2026 model was in the works probably in like 2023 or 2024. Same thing with your Galaxy phones, your iPhones, everything like that. It takes a long time to build up the tooling, uh, vet out the designs, get your distributors set up. So to think that they're changing they quickly discontinued their product line in panic of being sued, uh, is not realistic in my mind. I think it's a marketing stunt, but whatever. Okay, so let's get into the regional, local things. Uh, I know the No Kings protest is old news, but I didn't do this update of the week that happened. There was one in my general area. Again, I live in a very rural area. And while I was doing my running of errands, if you will, on that Saturday, I was in the area where the No Kings protest was going to be held. I was planning on driving around, but I came up on it and curiosity got to me. I had to go through. Basically, it was a much bigger turnout than I was expecting. There's probably, I'd say 150 people on the four corners of a traffic light at the intersection of the two major highways in my county. Again, keep in mind, I live in a very, very rural area. There are two stoplights in the whole county. So this protest was at half of them. I went by, as your typical signs. Everybody was well behaved. And I drove around the blocks a little bit and saw nearby were some larger parking lots for establishments that were closed on that Saturday. So I drove through them, pretty much all out of state plates. I'm not applying that this is, paid protesters and it was organized people coming in. I live on the Wisconsin side of the St. Croix River. We're about an hour and a half from the Twin Cities area. So a lot of those people protesting, I would connecting the dots here would have to say they are your typical resort area cabin people, uh, well-off liberals that live in the cities that are up at their cabin and they're out telling the world that they hate Trump, which, yep, I get, but whatever. I think there's probably a few locals in that. Has to be a few locals, but I think it's mostly the cabin community. Uh, One of the last nice weekends of the summer, they're up at their cabin. Hey, let's shake our fists at Trump because he's evil. But with that said, I need to be more mindful of this. Everything trickles down, right? That's why I do this thing with worldwide events, national events, local events, because everything from the outer edge of that funnel coming down of the world events trickles down to my area when it comes to being more mindful of local protests and social awareness, and how people act. Like I said earlier, I do my best to stay under the radar. I don't wear, uh, I try to take the overused phrase, the gray man approach. I just try to be bland. There's no bumper stickers on my vehicles. I don't wear clothing that shows my interests or support for anything or making fun of stuff or anything that would make me point out that, hey, he's a gun guy. Hey, he's, this, that, or the other thing. I don't even wear uh pro sports things. I don't want because nowadays you might even get some grief for that. So I just try to avoid all that. Um, Back to the food stamps. With federal aid going away to some of the welfare programs, that could make things a little more interesting around here. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that a lot of people who are on government assistance need that assistance. They're good people, they're honest people, they're just in a rough patch and they need a little help getting through that rough patch, which I am 100% for. And I'm glad that programs like SNAP and all the other acronyms I can't remember right now are in place because we should help out those that could use a little helping out. However, there is a lot of abuse in that system, and there's a lot of people who are just flat out low lifes that are on the dole because they can be on the dole and they've become used to it. It isn't a temporary thing. A lot of people who are on these welfare programs have been on those programs their whole lives. It's generational. I've seen it in my area. I know people who have never been anything but on it. When that cuts away, uh, that could make things a little more interesting. It could make some people become a little bit not nice. What's that old saying? Anarchy is 3 meals away or 9 meals away. Yeah, do the math, Shane. 9 meals away. People that don't eat for 2 or 3 days can get a little cranky. So I need to up it up with awareness and personal security, property security. And you should too expect break-ins, porch pirates, people smashing windows in parked cars to get a significant bump because people are going to start lashing out. And then expect some not so peaceful protests as well, looting, that kind of thing. It's going to happen. And also, the big thing for me this time of the year, and this is always big for me, even if everything is just peachy keen on the world fronts, regional fronts, and local fronts, winter's coming. I live in northern Wisconsin, so the changing of the seasons is real. It's going to get dark. It's going to get cold. So my EDC setups are being converted, and I'm checking out gear and getting things ready. I check out my flashlights, make sure I have a headlamp and a heavier duty flashlight in my vehicles. I personally carry a flashlight all the time. Now I carry two because, hey, and I may be stuck someplace and that little day-to-day flashlight that's rechargeable may not have a good charge. Getting rid of the fresh water and the bug spray in the vehicles because I don't need bug spray anymore, and the fresh water is going to turn rock hard if I leave it in the vehicles all the time. So that means keeping the fresh water on my EDC pack is more important. Uh, Heavier clothing in the vehicles again. That old school wool blanket, the extra jacket, the heavy boots, the cap, that kind of stuff. Getting my house set up, making sure I got my firewood supplies stacked, dried, and ready to go, and fine tune my power backups for when power goes out in the wintertime. It's a little more serious. It's darker and colder. So there you go. So there you go. I kind of went through my summary, but here it is. The global stage is still chaos, but it's stable-ish. National stage may be getting more volatile, and the seasons are changing fast, so get ready for winter. Wow, this is typically going to be, I try to keep this under 15 minutes. We're closing just over 25. Uh, but there's a few things I wanted to talk about, so I got it going. It'll be a little shorter next time. Again, we may do this as a live stream, so we'll, you know, burn through this in 15, 20 minutes. Then if anybody wants to give their insight on what to do or have a conversation, we can do that too. Make this thing 45 minutes, an hour, what have you. We'll see how that goes. But for now, we'll do this pre-recorded, not live stream type thing. So thanks for watching, folks. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe out there.